Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about Solana because we're seeing a really crazy structure forming on Solana. I think we could be seeing a breakout within the next probably 24 hours or so. It's looking really good. And so we're going to talk about this. We're going to go into that a little bit further, but I also did want to talk about a couple of news things going on. But that said, I mean, this is going to be probably more of like a technical analysis focused video, but like I said, we do have some of that news. I want to talk about kind of the bigger picture of what's going on in the Solana ecosystem as well, that I do think could support some of this price movement from more than just a technical analysis perspective. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at. Before we do that though, I did want to take just a quick look into crypto bubbles. We can see a pretty greenish day in the market overall. I would say the market is more buoyed by a couple of really huge gainers rather than just the market as a whole moving up. XCN is one that's moved crazy. There's several people actually, and I'll give credit where it's due. There's been several, well maybe not several, but like a handful of people in my comment section that have been kind of trying to shield me on Onyx Coin for probably the past several months. And so, you know, those of you who do hold Onyx Coin, congratulations. I mean, if we look in the past month, 1600%, this is just absolutely blown up, kind of starting from like the 15th of January. I mean, it's gone absolutely nuts. So, you know, this is a really crazy development that we have seen here, go all the way up at over $1 billion market cap at this point. Pretty impressive. So, you know, obviously I didn't listen. I probably should have, obviously, you know, hindsight being 2020. But for those of you that had been in on XCN, congratulations. From what it sounds like, Elon Musk, again, this is all rumors. I don't actually know too much about this, but from what it sounds like, Elon Musk is looking at potentially using blockchain as a solution to helping some of this like government spending, Doge, tracking some of that type of stuff. And so if that is actually to happen, I believe Onyx Chain was floated as one of the options, which is why it's been blowing up so crazy, at least from what I understand. That said, I mean, this is a Solana video, so we'll move on from Onyx Chain. Just want to kind of call that out because we are seeing some crazy moves happening over the past couple of days, and I have had some people asking about it. So, but before we get into this, I did just want to let you know about the link I do have for BTCC in the description below. Like I said, it's going to be a very kind of technical analysis, possible trades that we may or may not be taking. Again, not financial advice. These are things that I am thinking about doing personally. You obviously, of course, need to make your own decisions and things like that. But if you are looking for a place to trade and you don't have a place that you're either happy with, or maybe you just don't even have a place to trade yet, you can use my link in the description below to BTCC. They are doing that 10% bonus on first-time deposits, which is a really great deal. I love free money. I'm sure you do too. So if you want the free money, just feel free to sign up using the link in the description below. Also, they do have the extra bonuses of up to $10,055 per user. So really strong deal there also, as well as no VPN or KYC necessary. So tons of different things there. So anyway, let's go ahead, get into some of the technical analysis that we are seeing. Moving on though, I did want to take a look at the Solana chart because of course, this is what we're all here to talk about today. Things looking really interesting on the Solana chart here. What we can see, almost a perfect wedge being formed out right now. And so this is what I want to talk about. The wedge looking really nice. I mean, we can see it's held this very almost like crystal clear. It's looking super strong. We actually could even tighten it even a little bit more. See, you know, that's probably what it would look like. I mean, but we could see it, you know, it came into it about the 17th of January, kind of followed the trend line, blew up, obviously hit this peak right here, came down, and then obviously we've been kind of consolidating with, you know, kind of lower highs and also higher lows all the while. So, I mean, if this isn't like a textbook wedge, I don't know what is, right? And so, you know, and as you can see, we're getting very close to the end of the wedge. And so I'm monitoring this very closely. I'm probably going to be entering a trade here, and very likely a leverage trade. Again, not financial advice. You need to make your own decisions. I have found a strategy that works for me with regards to leverage trading. If you don't have one, you should probably not be doing it just because it can be very dangerous. But at least like what we're seeing here right now is we are seeing that the Bollinger Bands are squeezing. They're squeezing in tighter, and we know that when the Bollinger Bands squeeze in, we are about to see volatility. So again, I'm taking the bias just given some of the fundamental things that we are seeing on Solana. And again, we'll talk about some of this in the news later on in the video, but given some of the fundamental things that we are seeing here, we're expecting volatility. We're coming to the end of a wedge. We know that wedges usually mean a breakout, again, to one side or the other. Given what we're seeing in Solana, I'm imagining this is probably going to be a break to the upside. And so we can see, I mean, things looking really good here. We're getting almost to the very tippy top of the wedge. We're staying about in the middle of RSI, so we've got plenty of room to run from like a, you know, overbought, oversold type of perspective. We're seeing Bollinger Band squeeze. We're sitting right on the mean line of the Bollinger Band, or almost right on the mean line of the Bollinger Band. I mean, this to me looks like a perfect setup. Whenever I talk about trading and things like that, you know, obviously if we're trading in here, there's nothing to trade, in my opinion. Like there's just no real setup. Nothing really makes a whole lot of sense. Even here, like if you have conviction in the wedge, I guess you could have taken a short and played this run down. But from my opinion, from like a macro perspective, whenever we're talking about trading, we're talking about highest risk versus, or I guess highest reward versus lowest risk. That's ultimately what we're looking for, right? I mean, obviously, you know, if you can take a trade with a much higher probability of it paying off, you're going to want to do that. And so again, once again, for the third time this video, not financial advice. You do need to make your own decision, because even though, as I've said before, particularly with leverage trading, even though you might be directionally correct, you still can lose if you don't know what you're doing. So you just have to be very careful. But this to me looks like an absolutely brilliant setup. So as I said, I'm going to be putting my money where my mouth is. I'm probably going to be going to take a trade here. I do have a limit order set about, I think like 250, 2.5, something like that, because I am hoping that we will bounce off of this kind of lower trend line, and then we'll come up and break out. That's kind of what I'm hoping for, what I'm expecting to see. And so with that, you know, I'm going to try and see if I can wait for another bounce to the bottom side. If that doesn't work out, then I'll probably actually pull a trade when we see a breakout and a confirmation of close. There is the possibility, though, that we could run out, hit this level of resistance, and kind of get rejected here. So given that we are at the point where we would have to essentially break one, break two, and then we could see a run, there's the possibility that that could happen. So you just got to be careful with that. Make sure that we know that that is a possibility. But overall, from like, I mean, hopefully it's clear to see. From a technical analysis perspective, this is looking absolutely fantastic. And what I did actually want to show you is I want to go quickly over to the XRP chart. Again, I know this is a Solana video, but I want to go over the XRP chart because we've seen this happen before with XRP, and we're actually seeing something very similar happening right now. There's a lot of things going on in the charts, both of XRP and Solana, that are looking very similar. So if we go back, I actually might need to go back to day on this. So if we look at XRP, we can see the exact same thing going on here. We had this kind of, you know, higher highs and then into lower highs and then into lower low or higher lows, lower highs, and then we see this breakout. We see the confirmation of breakout. We see a little bit of a fake out wick here, and then we just see a rocket up to the upside here. We are starting to see, again, another bit of a wedge forming here. We'll get to this in a second because this could very much be a similar trade to Solana. So again, we'll talk about that one in a second. But what we can see here, I mean, this was, I would say, not even as perfect of a wedge is what we're seeing out of Solana, right? The one thing that they did have is they don't have kind of that resistance sitting right above the breakout level, which could cause a little bit of problems with Solana. But for looking at XRP, I mean, this is looking like a textbook breakout, textbook wedge, of course, exactly what we want to see. If we go back into the 1 hour, we can see that we are seeing a similar type of wedge forming here. So let me just kind of reorient this a little bit, but we can see, you know, very similar type of thing. We kind of come into the wedge on the 14th, 15th of January. We see a little bit of a retest back off this lower line. Again, we see another wick down here. We actually do kind of do a minor break through it, but then we come back up. Same type of thing here. You know, we've got a couple wicks going maybe potentially above the line here. But again, you know, very clear to see lower highs, again, generally, higher lows, again, generally, things like that. And then we are, of course, getting, you know, we just bounced, at least from what it looks like right now, we did just bounce off the end of this trend line. Maybe this is the run where we take a shot up at this upper trend line, and again, maybe even see another breakout off of XRP. XRP done absolutely insanely this run. Super, super impressive so far. And honestly, now that I actually drew this in my XRP video a couple days back, I said something along the lines of like, you know, we actually don't have the information that we need to draw this type of wedge, but I'm going to draw it just kind of out of a guess. And we could see it was actually pretty dang accurate. So I'm a little bit impressed with how accurately I was able to draw that, just kind of taking a guess. But that just goes to show you, you look at enough charts, you do this enough times, you do start to kind of get a little bit better. So, you know, this is, of course, maybe the type of like format or the type of structure that we're starting to see. Again, super similar to Solana. So, of course, if I were to take a trade, and this applies to Solana, this is no longer XRP, Solana, anything specific. This is just more technical analysis specific. If I were to take a trade, let's say right here, I'd probably be taking a stop loss. And there's a couple different places. You could take one right here just outside of this lower band. Sometimes rogue wicks can liquidate you though, or hit your stop loss, which can be a little bit of a struggle. So there's kind of the secondary option if you want to go maybe a little bit more safe, is maybe take below the kind of most recent low in case we do break structure. So again, you know, maybe it would be, you know, entry price about $3.13, stop loss somewhere around like, you know, $3.03. That's probably the like super safe way to play it. The much more high risk, high reward play would be probably something like enter at 313, get liquidated, or stop lost or whatever at about 310. Again, that's a much more tighter way to play. But if you're looking for potentially, essentially we're looking for a momentum play, we don't actually come back down. We just run straight up into and through this ascending wedge or this descending wedge line. We could see that potentially, you could probably pull 50, maybe even 100x on this and make a ridiculous amount, right? But again, far more risky than if you were to take something which may have a stop loss down here, like this $3.03, somewhere around that range. So just something to think about. Again, like I said, not necessarily like super specific to one crypto or another. This is just kind of like more leverage trading, how you could potentially do that type of thing. Like I said, I do have this link to BTCC in the description below. So if you are interested, just feel free to check that out. Like I said, here's the kind of the pitch, all that type of stuff, but the links are in the description below. I already kind of talked about that a little bit more, so I won't do that too much lately. I did want to talk about two things here today. The first one is Pump.Fun. Obviously, we've been talking about the fees on Solana going ham. We've been talking about the volume on Solana going ham. We've just been talking about the Solana ecosystem as a whole really doing quite well. And what we can see is a large part of this is due to Pump.Fun. And this is kind of tangentially related to the next post we'll be looking at. But we can see that Pump.Fun has made 3 times more than Solana in 24 hours. Pump.Fun is absolutely crazy. Like I think that like people have businesses of just creating meme coins, running them to a certain amount of market cap, either rugging them or leaving them or whatever, moving on to the next. it's completely crazy to me. Pump.Fun is absolutely wild. What we can see though, yeah, I mean, fees, 10.5 million on Solana, 15.3 on Pump, revenue again, 15 and 5. So I mean, really, really crazy stuff going on here. Overall though, this is, I would say, very, very bullish for Solana. Obviously, Pump.Fun is making more money than Solana at this point in time. But ultimately, that's what makes sense, right? Like if you think about like Google, for example, Google as a platform, of course, makes a ton of money at this point. But if you think about their browser, for example, there are a lot of companies who probably cumulatively make a ton more than Google does specifically. But Google as a platform essentially becomes more of like a value accrual tool that talks, or that like essentially helps people find all of these different types of businesses that individually are making more than Google might be potentially. Again, Google maybe not the best example because of they are kind of just this giant that has their hands in everything now. But again, if we are to limit it to like the browser specifically, they may not be making as much money as the companies that they are supporting, but they are the network. They are the marketplace. They're what allows people to do this, which is what, in my opinion, is so great for Solana. Even though Pump might be looking like it's making more money than Solana right now, that's of course what we want, right? I mean, ideally, we want like 100 or 200 or 1,000 different Pump.Fun type of projects sitting on Solana. That is what makes Solana a truly valuable ecosystem. So this is something that I think is super, super important. Next up, as I was mentioning, this is something where we can see there are 36.4 million crypto tokens today. We are on pace to have 100 million crypto tokens by the end of 2025. Wild, and in my opinion, basically exclusively in part to Pump.Fun. If we do look, 2018 alt season had just 3,000 tokens. 2013, 2014 alt season had 500 tokens. And I think something like the 2021 season, I think had somewhere around like 300,000 tokens. So this is kind of crazy. I'll zoom in so we can look at this. Obviously, almost all of the growth in coins has been on Solana. Obviously, some pretty strong growth on Base as well. But I mean, Solana is really kind of in large part the reason why there are so many tokens. And that's because it's super cheap. It's super easy. Anybody can do it. And so I think that's why obviously Solana is the lion's share of all the total tokens here. But this does kind of bring us to a larger point that we could and should potentially think about is Pump.Fun, as I kind of mentioned. If any of you have participated in the Pump.Fun ecosystem, or even just the very micro cap meme coins in general, I mean, I would say probably 98% of them get rugged. I mean, it's ridiculous. And part of me wonders if we don't actually see the alt season that we could see, because the crypto markets have gotten so much more efficient of essentially taking people's money without having to do like these crazy run-ups and type of stuff. Like everybody has seen the story where you could, throw $100 into a meme coin and it turns into $1 million. Well, of course you need to be kind of in the Pumpfun trenches to do something like that. And so people try it. And of course with that, people get caught up in the 98, 99% of rugs that are going on. And so I'm not saying that this is going to happen. It's something I've been thinking about lately because I'm not exactly sure what could happen to altcoin season now that we have 1,000 times more coins than what we have in the past. Is this going, like the accumulation of coins, is this going to mean that maybe we don't see individual superstar coins running 100, 200, 500x to these $5-10 billion market caps? We're going to see these $100,000 coins running to like 100 million. And then at that point, they're essentially pushing people to the lower market caps where it's much easier to like wash their money out of them. And so that's kind of what I've been thinking about. Overall though, I mean, Solana's looking rock solid. as we looked at from the technical analysis as well. Super, really strong formation pulling up. And so I just want to show that to you guys today. Hopefully you did find the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and a subscribe, because it really does help me out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, feelings, whatever, just drop those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. So if you have anything that you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.